Hello to everyone, thank you very much for all your support. Today is the day. This miniature has arrived and I'm going to show you how to paint a non-metallic metal or maybe a true metallic metal. I don't know. For this non-metallic metal I would like remember you how to use a capibase, because some of you asked me again how to use them. Here on the screen you can see how I use or how much diluted it's the capibase. As you see, the first two options for me are perfect, with less water than you thought. The other one will be a glaze, and we don't want glazes. You will have to spend a lot of time painting with glazes, and then you can get the same results. And as you see on my pictures, the results speak by themselves. So once time you get the perfect dilution to paint with a capibase, it's just paint like that without scare. You can see the difference, no? Remember, for that, please paint with an old brush, because if you want to paint with a perfect brush, with a perfect point, then you will be scared to don't destroy your brush. And you don't know how to paint well, or how funny it's paint like that. Okay, as you see, just with one base coat, with your first capibase will be enough to cover the armor, and then with turquoise will be the same, with less water and a capibase perfect to use. Not directly from the pot, but more or less with few water, okay? Less water than you usually paint, because I know some of you continue using glazes, and as you see on my pictures, you don't have to use glazes. What happens when there are some parts that you can paint well, or you want to paint with similar color, but it's a base coat and you don't want to spend a lot of time watching or searching new colors? Will be easy. When you want to create something with grays, and in that case you have something with blue and something with brown or violet, mix them and you will get a gray perfect to use, like you see on the sword. And for the black part, don't worry painting with a lot of mixes to represent black. It's just the base coat. Use pure black. You can use pure black in my Patreon, and pure white too. So I know a lot of masters say, no, you can't use white and black. You can use them. And you'll see here. Okay, again, different grays, different value of lights, and different base coats, but always with a capibase, because you don't have to mask everything to paint them with the airbrush and spend or waste a lot of time cleaning the airbrush and taking care. Just use the brush because it's funny, and maybe because you don't have airbrush. So, welcome to my capibases. Once time we have painted everything with a base coat, then the most important thing will be paint every dark lining, okay? But then I'm going to explain you that. This is just a preview. Now I'm going to show you how to use wet capibases, a new technique, yeah. How to use the paint wet, completely wet. This is nice to paint on the base. Why? Because you can make some experiments. You can use some color from the stone and then change the tones with different colors. As you see, I use turquoise, different browns, different grays, different greens, but if you think that a stone should be gray, or in some cases I heard white, I don't know why, this is not for you, because this is full color. So you will see here how to use greens, turquoise, maybe purples, a lot of colors inside, because for example some stones could have lichen inside of the stone and the color will change. So for sure you can change the color and you can use a lot of colors. And for sure this is fantasy. Take care, because maybe if you paint the stone with magenta, maybe someone will say, okay, it's fantasy, but magenta for a stone? Maybe, why not? You can test. I don't recommend that, but for sure I recommend use different greens, different blues, browns, but don't use a lot of grays, because gray don't have soul inside. If you lose the color when you paint, at the end you remove the soul of your miniatures. Again, a new capibase for different material. At the end will look similar, this color with the armor, but as you see at the beginning, it's so important. Think about the value of the light, because if everything have the same value of light, at the end everything will look the same. A new tip: if you think that you will see zenithal light on this miniature, wrong. Again, as I like break all the rules in our miniature world, this is a new one. I'm going to break the rule about you have to paint with zenithal light. I'm going to create my light where I want, because for me and for this miniature the most important thing will be create the non-metallic effect. Okay, as I explained, remember the first tip for this non-metallic metal will be you have to define every stuff, every part of this armor. So you have to paint the dark lining. This is a technical part, maybe it's boring, but you have to paint them, because if you don't define perfectly everything, at the end maybe will look weird for your eyes, because you can create the highest contrast, but if you didn't define perfectly, at the end you can see a sharp surface. So if you want to create a non-metallic metal, first you have to create a sharp surface to create something artistic on it. As for the color for the dark lining, this is up to you. With a very dark tone will be enough. In my case I use pure black directly, because will be enough, because at the end you can see the little nuances in a thin dark line. But if you want to add blue, green, something to get something deeper, will be perfect. When you are painting the dark lining, remember that in some moments you have to think about the surface, because in some moments you have to paint with a very thick dark line to create a shadow and on that point, okay? Because sometimes you have to create thin dark linings, and in some moments create a thick line to create like a volume. And paint every detail that you will see on your miniature. Eyes, teeth, in that case, the same. Remember, I'm going to explain you how to paint easy and without the scare to paint a non-metallic metal. So now the most important will be the technical part. This is the structure about this miniature. Okay, now after this you have defined everything perfect. So now you have to create a second shadow to create the reflection. As you made the reflection with the light, we will create the same with shadows on the material. Why? Because if you want to create a non-metallic metal, the most important thing will be create a high contrast. How we will create this contrast? Because in previous videos I explained that you have to paint going to the light. Remember that we start with our first shadow and then going up in each layer, in each capibase. But in that moment we want to search some second shadows to help you to create this sketch. So this is the moment to create these second shadows, because then will be easier to remove the area if you need, or understand where will be the second shadow. You can paint with stippling, with scratches, with a brush stroke. This is up to you. At the end will be just different nuances, but it's not super important how you paint with your brush, because you can get the same result with stippling than with another technique, for example a brush stroke. You'll see in this miniature that I use different techniques just to create different nuances, because I want to create in the same material different nuances, okay? Remember that for this miniature the face is a helmet too and will be a non-metallic metal, so will be different than when you paint a face, a skin face or a normal face. Okay, as you see on these mixes now, I start to create the lights. The first light, I create a mix between a violet, sorry, with something what have inside yellow or orange. Why? Because I want to create a contrast about the temperature of the color. Don't worry about the value of the light, because if you think that you have to paint now with ivory or pure white, at the end you will lose the soul of your miniature. Because if you lose the color when you are painting, at the end everything will look gray. To fix that mistake, I recommend you get these mid-tones with different colors. This is the moment to start to enjoy painting, because you can create everything and you can create the light where you want. For that, I explained that forget the zenithal light, we won't use it because we want to represent a non-metallic metal. So we will break some rules and we will create the light where we want to create reflections or create the volumes. About the color theory for that, for example, if your brown, like in my case, have violet inside, if you use a complementary color but warmer, will help you to create some contrast about the complementary color and the temperature. And at this moment we will forget the contrast with the value of the light. Because I said that because at the end we will get this contrast about the temperature and the value of light. But now remember, to control well the range light will be perfect, use color similar with different temperature. Like in that case, as you see, look with a high contrast, but the truth is are similar colors. The contrast appear because we made a contrast with the temperature, remember that. If you see the pictures about this project, at the end you'll see the result will be like silver color, like a silver armor, and now looks browns and yellows. Why? Because I will play all this project playing with the temperature, okay? This is the magic on this miniature. And as I said in previous project, if you feel that this is hard to you now, remember you have a lot of video tutorials showing you how I paint the non-metallic metals. where to prepare you to paint this full miniature, okay? If you feel it's a bit hard for you, remember, you have more video tutorials about that, and then you can watch this video tutorial 2-3 times, the times that you want. So for this first video tutorial, I'm going to explain you how to create the structure about the non-metallic metal. Now won't look as a non-metallic, because if I show you everything in just one video tutorial, at the end will be a bit hard or tough for you. And my opinion in that case will be show you how to start, and then I'm going to show you how to paint some final touches to get this contrast and get the result as a non-metallic metal. But this is maybe the most important thing, because I know you are waiting for the final step, but if you don't know, if you skip some steps, at the end you will remove the midtones, and is the most important thing when you want to create a non-metallic metal with different colors, like in that case. Another tip, remember, you have to define everything with dark lanings and then with light lanings to get a sharp miniature. And for this material, the light laning will help you to create the reflection lights. And where you should create the light, or how you have to create the light on this miniature. Remember, I always explain that you have to think about the volume of each material, of each stuff. If it's a cylinder, a sphere, or a cube, or it's completely flat, will be different to create the brush strokes on that surface. You have on this miniature a lot of examples to understand it. So keep calm, because this is hard at the beginning, but at the end you'll see that using capibases for this will look a good result. As you see, I paint the light lanings all the time, and then I repaint them if I need it. It's just not a final step. This is just the first sketch to create where I want to create the light, represent the reflections, everything. And then if I have to remove something to get more light or shadows, I'll do it. As I said, this is just a sketch now. If in some moments you feel that I repaint everything the same, I'm trying to create a gradient with capibases. I paint in a big surface, and then I paint in the same area but with smaller brush strokes, okay? Can you see that I use similar colors with similar value of light? Because now I want to paint everything with mid-tones. What happens if I try to paint directly with pure white or ivory or colors close to white? But then you have to lose everything in the middle, and you don't have more possibilities to get more light, because you have the highest light now. And you can play now if you need to bring down the light in some areas or get up more points. You can do it now with midtones, and then you have again more possibilities to add more shadows and lights. For this non-metallic metal, remember that the most important thing will be play with the temperature of the colors. If you are in that case, as you see, I add violet brown. It's a brown a bit colder, but if you want to create something darker and you don't want to use black or something darker, you can use, for example, blues, and just with the temperature of the blue, at the end for your eyes will look deeper or darker, and you use it a similar tone, a mid-tone too. This is a different trick. And as I said, remember again, paint everything and define everything, okay? Maybe the most important for this will be paint the dark lanings and light lanings. Paint the edges, okay? In some moments you'll see that I create a brush strokes with the light, and I create little reflections like brights inside, because I want to create different nuances on the same materials, because in a miniature like this, in an ambient, everything could change, okay? You don't have to paint everything with the same 2 or 3 tricks. You can change them. You can create scratches, dots with stipplings. You can create brights. I'm going to show you some tricks in the next video tutorials how to create a bright, super easy. But now just we'll focus on the structure about this. Remember, if you feel that this is so different, don't worry, because at the end we will blend with the airbrush, okay? Don't feel that at the end we look like this. Remember that you have seen a picture on the internet and the result will be like this. But now this is the first steps. As you see, I repaint again sometimes, but maybe in smaller area, or sometimes I remove everything that I made it, because when you want to create something new like this, you don't have nothing to copy. It's very tough because you can make a lot of mistakes and it's difficult to know where you want to go. So in some moments you'll see that I remove something, but this is just because then I thought that maybe I need more light, or maybe more shadows, or maybe I didn't like it enough. So you can change, because now is the moment to create everything that you want to represent on your miniature. The color, the light, the texture, everything. And then when you have your miniature more or less the 90% done, will be when you use your airbrush to blend everything and get a smooth surface and get a perfect miniature. As for the details, like in that case, the skull is the same. You have to define the skull and reinforce the volumes. easy? What do you think? As I said, if you have doubts, questions, you feel it's a bit harder that you can do it with your skill, don't worry, you have more video tutorials to help you a lot. But if you want to follow these instructions on this video tutorial, keep calm, because at the end the result will be so good and maybe better than you thought. Just believe in capibases. So for this video tutorial, this is the end. Thank you very much to be there watching me how I paint this non-metallic metal. Thank you very much for your support, and I hope see you in the next video tutorial, next streaming. And as you see, I think now it's easier, but then keep calm, because will be something super special in next video tutorials. You have seen the end. This is how I painted, so you have a perfect example to see what will become. Thank you very much. See you in the next video tutorial. Bye bye.